Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Be water, my friend.
Anyways, we are here for another episode at the Functional Training Summit here in Munich, and I'm here with Jill Miller, who I've heard a lot about in the recent years. And actually, I was already scheduled to interview you last year at the FT Summit.
Oh, what happened?
I'm not sure, but we missed each other.
I wasn't at the summit. That's what. I was having a baby.
You weren't at the FT Summit last
No,
year?
I wasn't. I was at the Fascia and Mobility Summit in Köln.
That's why. Okay, but you were scheduled to come, I guess, and then or something like that?
No, I don't think so.
You know what?
I was having a baby. What?
I remember I requested you because I'm always looking for more
ladies.
power women, ladies. The biohacking scene, which I come from, it's very
male.
men heavy.
So is the functional training space. Very male.
That's true.
Yes.
Actually, that could be my first question. How do you feel that as a woman in this segment, do you feel like it's different for you than for some of the guys on the stage, like Kelly?
I don't know how it is for them. I only know how it is for me. I mean, I definitely see the rosters at the different personal training and functional training summits, and I'm always astonished at how few females are headlining or lead presenters. And my the woman in me, it makes me a little bit sad to see that there's such an inequity, I feel. And I'm not sure why that is. I really don't know. Maybe because the male sports are just more popular and have dominated the media for millennia, for a really long time. I think things are really changing. I mean, there's so many women in sports. But there's also the pay grade of the male-female pay grade. And in terms of, I mean, I don't actually come from the personal training space. So I feel like the fact that I've earned a seat at the table here is just amazing because I come from the yoga space. I come from the group fitness space, which is, a lot of, in the, personal training world, group fitness. Formerly, there was really a very big divide. But now that in a lot of the personal training clubs and gyms, you have group teaching happening, I think that the personal trainers understand that they can learn from those of us who have spoken or taught groups for ages. Like, what are our secrets for getting people en masse to move well, or to move with, good congruency, and to build that rapport of the group? Because there's really a very different dynamic of teaching to groups than there is to teaching one-on-one. And so that's not what I was here talking about, but I do think that that's something, in terms of the professional side that I definitely excel in. And a lot of females do, because females are in that portion of the training schema more so than the personal training. They rise in that group space. And maybe because women are very good with group dynamics.
Do you feel it's different in the States? I remember, I ran into JJ Virgin at one event, and Emily Fletcher. She was on the podcast as well before, and so I feel like there are already a couple women coming up in that sector, or moved that transition.
JJ's nutrition, right?
She's nutrition.
Right.
Emily is yoga.
Yeah.
And she's the founder of Siva meditation. And she sort of is very present in that biohacking world for some reason.
Yeah.
Well, and does quite a bit podcasting.
But in a way, this might sound odd. The yoga space has always been a very welcoming space for the female voice. And that's the space that I came from, yoga and group fitness space. And so it's very easy for female leadership to really rise there. And you see that across the board. A nutrition space as well. But if someone comes in and tinkers around with your deadlift or your bench press, that's a little bit different. And I think the numbers game, in terms of how much weight you pull, maybe has something to do with that. I don't know. I'm just speculating. But I'm certainly not going to school anybody on their deadlift or their bench press, but I will help them improve the mechanics that allows it to transpire better.
Very much needed. And by the way, about equality, you could become maybe the next Billie Jean King in the realm of functional fitness. She spoke at my graduation. And
that's so cool. But I'm really interested also in how people recover and how people breathe. So I'm the warm up and the cool down chick. And that fascinates me. I love the meticulousness of preparation and the unrolling of tension and the resetting of mindset and the enabling of one to what happens on the turf, your home life, those 23 hours between when you're doing your training.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, actually, I associate two things with you, sort of, which is breathing is the one thing, and the other is the ball and the rolling,
yes.
the role model. Exactly, you are the role model. And why maybe did these two things become so prevalent in the work you do? Like, how did that story unfold?
Stress. When I really look at why I do what I do, I have to really look at my developmental history as a child and the traumas I experienced as a child and the house I grew up in and the different wild things that happened in my nuclear family that led me to succumb to anorexia at age 11 and 12 and become a 65-pound person after being about 100 pounds, a little bit overweight, and then thereafter becoming bulimic. So in looking at my own developmental history and understanding that I gravitated towards sedating practices to soothe my nervous system, to manage my emotional stresses that my family wasn't able to, at the time, help me through those, because everyone was dealing with their own drama. And so I found yoga and massage in my early teens and deep studies of massage. As soon as I started college, I started studying massage while I was in school full-time as a freshman.
And massage, you mean hands-on massage? So you doing the massage.
I started studying shiatsu massage, which is pressure point massage in the Japanese model. So understanding chi and the meridian model of the body. And that was my first introduction. I had started yoga when I was 12 or 13, something like that. And it's a much longer story of how all of that dovetails. But there was never yoga without breath, and there was never body work without deep sensing. And these things are all a part of my programming now. And then I'm very, very interested in how one can access on oneself pressure portals that upregulate your downregulation system. So different, I call them vagal doorways, that help you to deeply and profoundly relax, sense, and heal. So that's why breath and rolling are what people, I think, associate with me, because it's really what drives me. And I love position. Believe me, I love mechanics and I love accuracy. But I really think the groundwork for that is self-knowledge and really embodied self-knowledge. And that comes not necessarily by always pumping harder, pushing harder, but by being able to introspect and look inside, to see, to sense, to move, to feel, and heal.
I feel there's quite a bit of work to be done, actually, because in our community, there are a lot of women who deal with certain issues. And actually, last week, I was speaking at the Glamour Beauty Festival in Munich.
Glamour, like magazine.
Yeah, the Glamour magazine. And the topic was, can nutrition make you actually more beautiful? That was sort of the topic. Right. But I talked about cellular stress and symmetry quite a bit, which is a topic that I'm very interested in, mitochondrial function. And after the talk, there were about 6-7 women who came up to me, maybe in their end 20s, like between 20 and 35, I'd say, ages. And they all dealt with autoimmune diseases, such as Hashimoto, and chronic stress symptoms.
Yes.
And I hear that more and more. And do you maybe have an opinion on why that is, that it seems that young women now develop these, diseases based on chronic stress? Why is that? Including eating disorders, because even in my circle of friends, there's quite a few women, and it tends to, I'm not sure if it's just my subjective opinion, but it seems to.
So there's so many little rivers in what you just said to flow down on the discourse. I think that, we all find ways to manage our stress. We all find ways to survive. Like, all of us are here, we're living, we're surviving somehow. And not necessarily at peace with our way of being, or finding extended episodes of peace in where we're at, or our bodies. Your body has tells, right? Your body is always, if you're really listening to it, it's always giving away whether there's ease or dis-ease. Okay, where am I going with this? I think one of the challenges with all systems is rules. And if you are a person who needs to gain control in order to feel well, the rules you set up are also rules that when you break will make you fail. And a lot of systems aren't a middle way. It's an all in or not in. And I think that in the training space and the nutrition space, and I'm saying this as a recovered anorexic and recovered bulimic who would not eat. There were so many no's that I would not eat. I cannot eat mayonnaise. I cannot eat fried food. I cannot eat. There were so many no's, and all of them set me up for failure because inevitably I would trip that wire. So I think that it's complicated, but having permission to be exploratory and permission to let's take it's actually hitting me really at a cellular level. I mean, I feel the chills all over my body because my eating disorder I read everything about nutrition. I had all the information and I had so much dislike for myself, but I thought if I just did everything that, like for example, right now it's paleo or whatever, or ketosis. If I just do everything like that, then I'll be perfect. Then I'll be right. And everything in me will be fine. But the attitude of that is what's so destructive. The attitude of that need to be perfect, that need to be exquisite, that need to be glamorous. That's what's eating us up, I think, at that cellular level. And we're failing or disappointing, or we're righteous.
Yes.
Right? And I think that's the emotional instability of a way. So the older I get, I'm 45 now. I have 2 children. I'm so blessed. I had 2 children over 40. That's just, the odds were against me, right? And being a parent now, I see the need for, both rules and permission. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going with this, Max, but...
I think it's beautiful what you just said. No, because
did
I think...
say something cohesive?
I did. I think that I think a lot of our listeners will relate with that very much so, because I think it is a big problem that you addressed, and it's also, I think, important to sort of keep it opaque, because we tend in our space to often give these 3 steps how you can solve this,
right.
But it doesn't work that way oftentimes. And it's exactly the problem that you just addressed, that oftentimes people say, okay, if I just eat paleo, if I follow these rules to perfection, I'll be fine. And then we sort of create this, we think it's a safe space, but in the end, exactly, it could be very destructive.
Right.
Maybe little successes that we feel by following this diet is part of a greater disaster. And I come also more and more to that. And that's why I love to question my own theories that I've presented a year ago. And I was totally ketogenic for a while. And then I was paleo, and I tried different breathing techniques, for example. I actually did a Wim Hof breathing workshop a couple of weeks ago, and very much got into that. And I'm trying out a lot of things, but now I really say, okay, it might not be, as glorified as some people might make it look like. And I think breathing, though, just as this primal thing that we always come back to and can come back to, is one thing that I found for myself. Just block out everything. And, we are on the Flowgrade Show right now. This is the name of my brand, which is very much about not upgrading people, but finding... Flow grading.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
So finding more harmony again, getting them into the flow state.
Yeah.
Shutting off the prefrontal cortex. And maybe at this point, like, what does it mean for you to be sort of in a flow state?
It means that I'm not judging myself all the time. With my, coming from an eating disordered place, all you are is in judgment of yourself all the time. And so now that I have children, and I'm really aware of that judge that comes up in me, to, the urges to punish, or the urges to shout, or the urges to, say things that are going to feel really painful to my kid. the confrontation of that has been extremely helpful, because what comes out of me is what was in me. And so I'm able to like sort of see a tapestry of what I'm spawning. And so to figure out those places where I can be without judgment, but to create safety for the natural unfolding of her humanity, his humanity, and my own humanity, to be more better. That's my flow grade.
I love that. By the way, with your children, do you already, well, I guess Asher's too young right now, but
my daughter is Lila. She's
how old
3
is she?
years and 3 years, 3 months.
Okay. Do you already do like, a breathing exercise with her, or rolling or something?
Oh, yeah. Well, she mimics us. She mimics her mom and dad. So she sees us rolling, and she'll ask to roll on the therapy ball. She loves rolling on the gorgeous ball, especially. I think that's probably one that she sees us roll on a lot. And I also I use a doll when I teach to show movement and mechanics. And so when I came to Germany, I said, "What do you want me to bring you home?" And she said, "I want a yoga tune-up doll," because she wants a doll that articulates as much as my doll. So I think it's, the mirror neurons work there. And one of the places where I've used breathing with her is on the bathroom. Mm-hmm. Because you see children when they're trying to poop, they inhale, they hold their breath, and they bear down. And I say, actually, you know what? If you breathe and just try to relax into your abdomen, it'll actually just come out, and you don't need to push so hard. So I'm working with, thank you very much. No, we're talking about bowel movements. It's Germany, right? We can talk about bowel movements.
Exactly. No.
So it's...
And I'm sure there are a lot of young mothers, and they might want some advice in that department as well, which I hardly ever get. So
I try not to get teachery on her, though. I'm really aware of the teachery portion of me. So I just try to model, and I'll put her hand on my abdomen. Or if she's in a tantrum, that's always really interesting, because in a tantrum, the vagus is totally shut off. And so just finding ways of trying to stimulate her vagus through my body, with, holding her in different types of holds and putting pressure on her abdomen and doing abdominal breathing into her abdomen while she's tantruming, just to try to see if I can, it's almost like resuscitation, mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but it's gut-to-gut resuscitation, to try to help her. I've never articulated that before, but so different ways of trying to model the relaxation response when she's, in heightened states of stress. And same with the baby too. I mean, he's actually my vagal regulator. What's so amazing about babies is they're so in touch with emotional tone. And so your vacillations are moment by moment altering them, and they're altering you. So there's this collegiateness, this interrelatedness of emotional regulation that happens. So that's fun, like knowing the science behind that, and then then being in it.
What do you mean with vagal?
The vagus nerve, so the 10th cranial nerve, which is our great downregulation nerve that has it has different branches, it's a polyvagus. Right? There's branches that innervate different sections of the face and head and neck that are actually myelinated. And then there's diaphragmatic and cardiac portions of the vagus. And then there's the more ancient vagus that innervates the guts. You can look more about this with Dr. Stephen Porges. He's got a theory called the polyvagal theory. Stephen
Porges.
Yeah. Unbelievably incredible understanding. I mean, the guy on the vagus nerve in the whole world. So check him out.
So doesn't it actually also relate to the work you do with that area here, with the gut area, to the gut feelings that we have, and the intuition that seems to lie in there, and these pressure points?
Yeah, so we have implicit feelings from within our viscera, and the message highway of that is that vagus nerve. So 80% of the vagal fibers are actually afferent, they're upward flowing. And so sensations that you have, also you get sensations in your heart. You'll have like this weird feeling in your heart. Those are also vagal afferents that are telling your brain about information. And Dr. Porges talks about this as neuroception. It's your nervous system's way of knowing. And you might not actually have concrete ideas or thoughts about what these sensations are, but these are implicit feelings from within your body. One of the messages I utter to my students, and I have them actually verbally recite the this mindset. In the yoga space, we call it sankalpa. In yoga tune-up, we work with something called sankalpa, and really it's about mindset. Is I embody my body. Ich verkörpere meine Körper.
Okay.
Right? Ich verkörpere meine Körper. And, you know, nobody else can embody you. You have to do that practice yourself. You have to climb in, you have to sense, you have to move, you have to breathe. You have to dial up the intra-tissue communication systems so that you are, you're full of sense.
Yes, yeah, I think.
And you can cut that off by overeating, by overrunning, by overtraining. You can cut off those implicit feelings, but really that's you're trying to run away from those feelings. And that's what I did by throwing up for years, and also by overtraining in yoga, which was doing too much yoga and overstretching every structure in my body.
It's really, I think, fascinating how it's all very connected, because from, let's say, an eating disorder, you found the way to breathing and to working with your body and eventually functional fitness. But then again, back, to that area where it starts. Yeah. And so it's all interconnected. I think that's fascinating. I think right now we live in a time where we become aware of that.
Yes.
So there are much more holistic approaches now coming up.
So cool.
Super cool.
That's what I'm writing my second book on. So my first book is the rolling technique, and the second book is a breath-based book. It's my inside out core approach. And that's going to be coming out next year, I think. It's really hard to write and being a new mom again.
Oh,
so hard.
I'm sure. I'm actually quite impressed. You still seem to be doing so much, and being a mother now.
It's very hard.
Of two. And I can...
I'm not going to lie.
Can only imagine. Do you have like a method in high pressure situations, like maybe a breathing technique that you go to technique in order to relieve?
One is just simply extending the exhale, right? So the exhale is longer than the inhale. And then the other would be to make sure that my diaphragm has full range of motion. So that's the diaphragm vacuum. In the yoga space, it's called Uddiyana Bandha. So it happens after an exhalation retention, and then you isolate the rib cage, or you activate the external intercostals, and it stretches the diaphragm. I have lots of pictures of this on my YouTube and Instagram. And
You'll link to all of that.
Sure. And then there's an additional technique that I showed today called Nali Kriya, or lateral abdominal churning, which then represents the motor control of the core muscles in correlation with the diaphragm stretch. So I know if I can do those things that for me, it's like the texture of my tension. So if I'm able to do these things, I know that I can flip that off switch on. That makes sense? So I'll be able to deepen that relationship to downregulation. If I can't do those things, then I'm in trouble. Then I'm like in high stakes, high pressure, like I'm like in an emergency situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there actually something that you notice in your clients, or maybe even in other people, that either a lot of people do wrong, or where there's one thing, if they would get over it, then they could unleash more of their potential?
Yes, I think it's retraining your respiratory mechanics. I do. I think it's the underlayer of everything. It's the lining of your birthday suit. Your innermost abdominals, they are your postural muscles. So if you're not doing them justice, then everything you do is just impacting the seams of your body, and you're basically, you keep treading on your tires in a way that can eventually create a rupture. And that could be in your shoulder, it could be in your neck, it could be downstream in your foot. I'm really excited. I saw Kelly's session yesterday on mechanical ventilation, and he and I are talking about very similar things coming from two very, very different backgrounds.
Right, yeah,
but he's completely right. And it's the same thing. I've been working on this concept and teaching the importance of those innermost abdominal muscles for so long. I think their time is coming.
Yes,
yeah,
I think so too.
Coming.
Maybe at this point, I want to switch gears a little bit and then find out more about your personal routine. Like, what do you, as a mother now, how does your day start?
My God. Well, my son doesn't sleep through the night. So I'm actually in a chronic insomnia place right now. And I've never been that in my life. Wow. But he gave me insomnia once I was pregnant with him. So it's been almost 2 years. I mean, he's 9 months now, and we haven't slept through the night in 9 months. So that's pretty raw. Like, every night is like being on a flight to Tokyo. But given the practices I do, I think they offset a good deal of that, but certainly not all of it. And I'm really looking forward to sleeping through the night again. I've never been a poor sleeper until now. And it's all his fault. But he's so cute.
Well, you seem to be doing really well. I recently heard from another female therapist, a German lady. She told me that if a woman's prolactin levels are quite high, then she can deal with less sleep during
and that's it. I mean, I nurse him. So it's interesting. Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
It's why I do better than my husband.
Wow.
I mean, like, the stresses are worse for him than for me.
Do you still like keep a couple of routines throughout the day that even when?
Yeah, I always do a move called the supraclavicle or neck gnar. Kelly calls it neck gnar, where you place a yoga tune-up ball above the clavicle and dance around in the scalene, trapezius, levator, scapula space. Here, I have pictures of that. If you go to YouTube and look up neck gnar, you'll be able to find that. And also approximating the levator attachments on the lateral cervicals. It's so refreshing, and they also press into, there's a sort of pressure portal into the vagus nerve. So it automatically resets me. So that's one of the things I do after lots of typing at the computer or over texting. It also helps to just reset your cervical scapular posture. It's wonderful.
So you take a little ball, I guess we can find it in Germany as well online.
Yeah, so Perform Better sells all of my balls, which they're pliable and they're grippy. So they're very, very tender to your tissue instead of abrasive or irritating. They're not solid. They're made of grippy, pliable rubber. So they conform to the structures of your body and they don't pinch or bruise. And they have a ton of grip, which means they create shear. And that helps to pluck at your tissues and like fluff you like a down pillow instead of smash you and compress you.
Okay, great. And you put that here and you just roll around.
Yes. Yeah. And there's lots of different pressure points, right. But that's one that I'm like, one and done. That will allow me to just reset.
Do you
everything.
have a YouTube video on that? Because I'll embed it then in the article.
I do.
Right? Awesome. Wow. Next question. Is there, or one of the, we're ending up because I hear Asher once in a while.
Yeah, I know. I'm like aware of him. My breasts are aware of my child at all times. They're like little alarm clocks. Yes.
So just a couple more. So our listeners can take as much away from you as possible. Now's the chance. But maybe is there one habit that you either adopted or got rid of in the last, let's say, 6 months to 2 years that has significantly had an impact on your life?
Oh my gosh.
Could be anything from quitting something. Someone before said that, for example, he started taking cold showers. This is one thing, or another said taking magnesium at night.
Well, I'll tell you what. I went with the birth of my daughter. I started the study of strength and conditioning. So just over 3 years ago, I introduced formal training. I work with a coach in Los Angeles named Josh Landis, who is just an astonishing individual. He's so smart and so good. And I've never been able to work with a personal trainer for 3 years. He's just that good. He's kept my attention like really good.
Yeah.
So I feel like the formal study of strength and conditioning has given my body a new lease on life. Really, just getting stronger, especially because of carrying my children. I created hypermobility in my body from overstretching over the years, from yoga and dance. And really my flexibility was one of my, the badges that I wore as, I'm so flexible, but really I was very unstable. And so strength and conditioning has given me strength. It's amazing to feel strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that's it.
Jill, I want to end with one question because I actually really I know quite a few people. I live in Berlin.
Oh, cool.
And it's a beautiful city. Even though I'm from here, I'm a mountain boy, I'd say. And I love being down here.
Als ich 14 war, fahren wir to Ostberlin. So I was in Germany the summer before the wall came down. I'll never forget traveling to East Berlin. So that was probably before you were even born.
It's a unique experience, yeah.
Very unique. Yeah,
it's. I mean, my grandmother's from Berlin, but she grew up in an era where there was no wall yet.
And then the wall, and then after the wall.
Because I said, Oma, are you from West or East Berlin? And she's like,
Berlin.
I don't know, Berlin. Like there was no East and West. It was the same then.
Cool.
But anyways, in my circle of friends there, I know quite a few because you targeted that topic before. Especially girls that have some sort of either eating disorder or something like that. What would be your advice that you would give them if you say, where can they maybe go to find a solution? What out of your experience?
I do think that, one, be with people who love you for you. Love is very healing. Tell somebody that you love about the crisis that you're in, because this is the most deadly mental illness there is for young women. More women die from eating disorders in the late teens, early 20s than any other psychiatric illness. So it is life or death. That sometimes isn't even enough to motivate, but there, especially with bulimia, there are other issues that can destroy your teeth, right? So if beauty means something to you, then maybe that might influence somebody. But you need to tell somebody you love that you're in a crisis. And it's a very, very, very difficult disease to heal from because of the need for control that they have. So I don't know the crisis people, the psychiatrists or the groups, and in America, there are National Eating Disorder Association. You can just, and they'll find therapists for you. If you have no money, they can find scalable help. But you need help. It's not something you can overcome by yourself. You need a community and to endow another person to help you with that transition out of the need to control every facet of your being and to annihilate the person in you that you hate.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Great. Now, Jill, where can people find you online? What is your social media, your number one website? And
Okay. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
TuneUpFitness.com is my website. And within it,
TuneUpFitness.com.
TuneUpFitness.com. And within that, there's 2 portals, one for Yoga Tune-Up and one for the Role Model. You can also find me, I love social media, Facebook, we're Tune-Up Fitness. Also, Jill Miller, I have an author page. And then on Instagram, I'm at Yoga Tune-Up. So there's a few different. I wish we were all the same, but it's Tune-Up Fitness, Yoga Tune-Up, yeah.
Go to flowgrade.de/Jill Miller and you will find all the links to Jill's profiles and websites and YouTube videos and show notes and more. So thank you so much for doing this and being here. It was fantastic. And I think we took a lot away from, I think I became actually, I had goosebumps.
Little chills?
Little
Jills?
So little Jills, exactly.
Cool.
And thank you, Jill. Again, go for flow. We'll see you next time.
Ciao.